All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ravi Ramnani. Thank you for joining today. Today, I'm going to actually give you some insights about the new law, Economic Substance Regulation, which was introduced last year, uh, and what impact it can have on your business, and what measures, what steps need to be taken to meet the compliance of the law. Before we begin the presentation, I kindly request you all of to turn off your camera and keep your mics on mute so that we can run the presentation smoothly. And also, if you have any questions during the webinar, you can type it in the chat box. We will have a small question and answer session after the presentation for 5-10 minutes. We'll try to answer as many as we can, and also we can discuss the same matter offline as well. You can send me an email, or we can schedule a meeting or a call later at your convenient time. We will start the presentation. So these are the topics we are going to actually cover in the presentation today. First one is what is the background of ESR, why UE needed to introduce ESR, then who is covered under ESR, what are the relevant activities are mentioned in the regulation, and what is the economic substance test, and what needs to be done to meet that criteria, and what are the administrative penalties if you're non-complying the law, and how we can help. And also there will be a small session of Q&A. So now we'll go to next slide, which is about the background of the ESR. Now, ESR actually, UAE is a member of the inclusive framework set up by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is OECD. Now, this organization actually they have introduced ESR in all the countries which have low or no corporate tax in order to comply with international initiatives to combat harmful tax practices. uh, so ESR requires actually certain legal entities to demonstrate that they are actually carrying out these substantial economic activities in the same jurisdiction. So the UAE actually introduced economic substance regulation law because just to honor its commitment as a member of the OECD inclusive framework on base erosion and profit shifting system, and in response to a review of the UAE tax reporting framework by the European Union. When the law was introduced, actually, UE was removed from the blacklist from the EU, European Union. So basically, the purpose of the regulation was to ensure that UE entities undertaking certain activities, they report actual profits that are commensurate with the economic activity undertaken within the UAE. Now here actually I have mentioned one small example of there's a one company called ABC UAE, which is having $5 million turnover per year, but the company doesn't have any staff in the UAE. It doesn't have it is not directed or managed in the UAE, and it doesn't have any core income generating activity undertaken in the UAE. Now imagine a company who is having a $5 million turnover, but actually they are just parking the profits of the company over here UAE, and it is not helping to boost the economy of the UAE. So because of these reasons, actually UAE had to introduce the ESR law. Now we will discuss who is covered under the ESR, who is called licensee, and who are exempted from this law. So first of all, what is licensee? So as per the regulation, it says that a licensee is a natural or a judicial person who is licensed by the competent authority to carry out relevant activity. Now, a license includes any commercial license, certificate of incorporation, or any kind of permit actually issued by the government authority to carry out the business falls into this category. Now, that is who are exempted from the ESR law. So the entities who are directly or indirectly owned by 51% or more by the UAE government. Now that includes the federal government, government of any emirate, or any government authority or body, and also license that do not carry out any relevant activity during the financial year. This is the main point actually why we have highlighted that during financial year is even if you are carrying out a relevant activity, okay, and but if you're not gaining any income during that financial year, in that case you are supposed to only file the notification, but you don't need to comply with the economic substance test. So that's why every year this is now mandatory for all the companies, and they need to comply with it. Now we will the ESR actually is applicable to all the free zone companies, onshore, offshore, and all the financial free zone companies in the UAE. Now, what are the relevant activities actually mentioned in the regulation? So these are the activities which are mentioned in the regulation: is holding company, headquarter business, banking business, insurance business, shipping business, lease finance business, intellectual property asset, investment fund management, distribution and service center. Now we will talk about some main activities actually, which actually most of our clients are operating the business with. So we will start with the holding company business first. So a holding company is defined as a business that is a holding company in accordance with the law applicable to the licensee carrying out such activity, or it has a primary function, the acquisition and the holding of shares or equitable interest in other companies, and does not carry out any other commercial activity, that is called a holding company. Now, most of our actually SPVs in the ADGM, they hold shares in another UE entity as a requirement, to prove economic substance as per the ADGM guidelines. So mostly they fall under the holding company business. But if they are earning any income as an interest or any capital gain or dividend from those company, then only they need to submit the economic substance test. Now, this is the example of holding company actually we have, and there are some few questions which we have pointed out here. Imagine, so suppose there is a JKL UAE which is not carrying out any holding company activity, not commercial activity, sorry, and it has a subsidiaries in UAE, in India, and also in KSA. So now, which activities would be covered under holding company? So JKL UAE is actually having its subsidiary on in these three countries, and if it is gaining any capital gain or dividend only from its subsidiary, and it is not carrying out any other commercial activity, then it would fall into the scope of holding company business, and therefore it needs to notify the ADGM for the ESR, and also it needs to submit the uh, economic substance test to the authority at the end of financial year. Now, sorry, sorry guys, yeah, sorry. What if JKL UE carries out any other commercial activity in addition to holding equity interest? Now, as the law says that if the holding company is carrying out any commercial activity, then it does not fall into the holding company business, but the other commercial activity which needs to be looked out, if that commercial activity is actually a relevant activity, if it is carrying out a relevant activity, then it needs to be checked out from the other part. And how to meet the reduced substance test if the regulations are applicable. So in the regulation they have mentioned that for the holding company, if they are earning any income through in the form of dividend or capital gain, then they need to submit the reduced economic substance test. Now, what is reduced economic substance test, like what does it require to submit and what does not? So we'll now, so all the ADGM companies and DFC company, first of all, must file a notification with the registration authority, irrespective of whether relevant activity is carried out or not during the financial year. The deadline for the ADGM company is 30th June 2020, and for the DFC companies, 12th June 2010. Now, in the ADGM guidelines, they have mentioned that the companies who are incorporated prior to 30th April 2019, they must file a notification to the registration authority before 30th June 2020. Now, what about the companies which are formed after 30th April 2019? So they may be asked to file a notification if they get the if the ADGM gets in. instruction from the Ministry of Finance, then they need to. So right now, as of now, actually, we will ask for the update and we will let you know if we have any update about that. And in accordance with that, what actually requires to reduce economic substance test, compliance with existing reporting compliance requirements by submitting necessary documents, records, or information to the regulating authority. So every year we always file the annual accounts, annual report to the ADGM authority, anyways. So this is basically that. And also, core income generating activity must be undertaken in the UAE, and adequate number of employees and physical assets, so that can be satisfied through a corporate service provider or a related company. And directors can be counted as equivalent full-time employees, and registered offices or flexi desk can be counted as premises. As we are the registered agent actually for so many SPVs in the ADGM, we provide a registered address as a for the company. So that address can be considered as a premises. Now, the ADGM companies, the holding companies, they do not require to be directed and managed in the UAE. Now, when I say directed managed, that means the directors don't need to be present in the UAE while taking any key decision, and the board meetings, the board meetings, if it's they are happening outside UAE, that can be accepted. Now, it does not also require adequate expenditure being incurred in the UAE. So, for example, day-to-day expenses of the office staff or anything, it doesn't require for in the reduced economic substance test. Now, this reduced economic substance test is only for the holding company business, not for any other relevant activities. For other relevant activities, you should always file a full economic substance test. Now we will go to next slide, which is headquarter business. Now we have shown a one example actually in the screen. UK Group, which is holding which is holding shares in the UAE company, and UAE company is managing the its India KSA or Egypt subsidiary. Now, so what activities performed would be covered under headquarters business? So, according to the regulation, actually, a licensee is regarded as carrying on the headquartered business if the licensee takes a key decision and it is responsible for overall success of the group, and it is also responsible for the important aspect of the overall group performance, and they take the key decisions that is covered as a headquarter business, and therefore it would fall into the scope of ESR. Now, second question is, does entity need to be ultimate parent to be considered as a headquarter business? No, it does not have to be the ultimate parent company, as long as they are taking a key decision, managerial decision, and the management is sitting in. For like this example, UK company, which is the ultimate parent company, but UAE company is actually making decision for its all subsidiary in KSA, Egypt, and India. The management is sitting, senior management is sitting inside UAE and taking all the decision. So therefore, that needs to be considered as a headquarter business, not the ultimate parent. So it doesn't matter where the position of the company is, as long as they are taking all the managerial decision, then they fall into the scope of headquarter business. Now, what if UE entity is taking key decision for another UE entity? Then yes, it will be also considered as a headquarter business. Now we will move on to the next slide, which is a intellectual property business. Now, as you know, UAE's business is regarded as carrying out intellectual property business if it holds, exploits, or receives gross income from intellectual property assets. Now, intellectual property assets is defined as any intellectual property, right, in intangible assets such as copyrights, patents, trademarks, brands, or technical know-how, and from which licensee earns the separate income in the form of royalties or license fees, franchisee fees, capital gains, or any other kind of income from the sale of intellectual property asset. They fall into the category of into the scope of ESR, and they need to file the substance report to the authority. Now, in intellectual property business, the government has actually mentioned another category, which is a high risk IP license. Now, who is called a high risk IP license actually? So a licensee which consider any of the two active conditions which are mentioned in the slide. Column A is licensee did not create IP asset, and IP asset was acquired either from a connected person or a consideration from any other person outside UAE. And for funding, IP asset is also further licensed to connected person to otherwise generate income from the asset and consequence of activities performed by foreign connected person. And or if it does not carry out any research and development of branding or marketing or distribution as parts of its UE code income general activity, would fall into the scope of ESR high risk IP license. Now, and the in high risk IP license, actually the license is presumed to not meet the economic substance test unless the licensee meets the increased substance requirement. Now, for high risk IP license, there are actually more requirements than a normal substance test. They need to submit the increased substance test, which consider like the licensee must demonstrate and provide evidence that it does, and it historically it has exercised a high degree of control over developing IP, and it has adequate number of full-time employees with the necessary qualification that permanently reside and perform their activities in the UAE. They also need to show a business plan showing the reasons for holding the IP in the UAE, and also the decision making takes place in the UAE itself. So what this is called a high risk IP license. Now I'll show you the examples of normal IP, a normal IP license, and the high risk license. Now here you can see ABC Limited, which holds a one brand actually, and the rights for which are licensed to others in return for a loyalty. Then ABC Limited is within the scope of the intellectual property business. Here, another example is if the Sofitech has developed any IT software, for their data processing, tracking online orders and all, and if they are selling this software to the other companies to use their online marketing business, and the users they pay Sofitech a license fee in order to use the IT software. So Sofitech is within the scope of the intellectual property business, and therefore it should submit the economic substance test. Now, here is the example of the high risk IP license. So, there is a company called Pharma LLC, a UAE resident company, which earns a gross income from licensing its patent for a new medicine to its group companies located in Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Now, Pharma LLC actually did not create the patent. It was created by the UK company. The rights were acquired from the group of company in UK. So therefore, the Pharma LLC will fall into the scope of high risk intellectual property business because it did not create any IP. The IP was created by the UK company, and it is just selling. It just it just registered the patent in the UAE for that. That is the example for the high risk license. Now, what needs to be done in the economic substance test? When I say economic substance test, so what exactly needs to be submitted to the what the needs to be done? So there are three main criteria actually that the company has to be directed, managed in the UAE, and so the board meeting must be held in the UAE as well, and the minutes of the meeting also taken and kept in a record, and information related to the adequate number of qualified employees. Now, there is no definition of adequate employees number of employees actually, or even if it doesn't like say one size fits all requirement. So what authority will do is they will apply a risk-based approach, having regard to the level of relevant activities which are carried out in the business. So they will consider the number of employees, the level of operating expenditure in the UAE, physical premise and assets, and so they will do the analysis on this, and then they will let you know on the substance test. So these three main things are should be done after if you come to know that you are holding a you are carrying out a relevant activity and you are earning an income, then these three things needs to be done to meet the economic substance test criteria. Now, what are the penalties if you don't comply with the law? So here are the some of the penalties. It is mentioned that if you don't file a notification with the government in the stated deadline, so you'll be fined as AED 10,000 to the AED 50,000 dirham fine. And failure to meet economic substance test for the first year, the fine will be 10,000 to 50,000. And plus for the for the corporate shareholders, information exchange with foreign competent authority of the parent company UBO. This information will be shared with the relevant jurisdiction in the foreign country. And if you don't submit economic substance test next year as well, subsequent year, then the penalties will rise AD 100,000 to AD 300,000, and information will be same exchange with the foreign authorities, and your license may be cancelled or suspended or withdrawn. Now, in this section, actually, we'll discuss how we can help actually to identify what is the relevant. Are you carrying out any relevant activity or not? Did you gain any income or not? And if you gain any income, if you're then what needs to be done in assisting preparing the filing as ESR report. So there are two steps actually we will follow. First one is to examining if ESR is applicable to your entity, and if it is applicable, so we will help you to file a notification with the registration authority. And if it is applicable, then we will also assist you in preparing and filing ESR reports. Now, in step one, what we will do actually, so that we can know if you are carrying out a relevant activity or not. So we will have a wide understanding of your group business, your operation, and your objectives. We will also examine the relevant documents such as license, other incorporation document, your shareholding pattern, financial statement, bank statements, uh, all these details to examine if you gain any income or not, if you're carrying any relevant activity or not. We'll also analyze and identify the applicability of the relevant activity in the first stage. Now, in the next stage, if you fall into if the relevant activity, and also you need to file a economic substance reports test. So in that case, how we can assist is, first we would do the broad analysis of your operation, which will include understanding the shareholding structure of the group, analyzing key profits aspect of the group operation, examining terms of key contracts of the local entity, analyzing the financial statements, analyzing the employee related information, which is like their visa, they are on the visa, valid visa or not, they have the set of skills, they have the education certificate which are not. These kind of thing we will do and analyze, and we'll also analyze and reconciling the operation with the core income generative activity as provided by the guidelines, and also assistance with the respect to filing of the prescribed form by statutory due date with the relevant authority. Now, here are the fees actually we will discuss. So at the level one, for notifying and examining if the applicability of the ESR is not, we will charge you USD $500. And if you fall into the ESR scope and if you need to submit the ESR report, then this can be decided mutually post completion of the level one. So here I end my presentation. If you have any questions or answer, you can type in the chat box. I'll try to answer as many as I can. And also, your appreciate it will be highly appreciated if you can just give us a feedback on how did we do in the presentation, like it was informative or not. So there is a link actually I have posted in the chat over here. You can click on that link and you can take it will just take only 2 minutes. You can give us your feedback, and also we will attach this presentation and we will attach the video of this presentation, and we will upload it on our YouTube channel, and we will send you separate email with the requirements, and also there will be a link of the feedback as well, so you can give the feedback later on as well. And All right, I guess there are no questions over here. So, okay, so then I'll just end my presentation over here now. We will wrap it up, and thank you for the thank you for joining today. Thank you for your time, and we hope that next time in next time webinar we will have you again. We'll definitely let you know. We'll conduct more and more webinars now, as since now the time is actually working from home. So definitely we'll conduct more webinars, and we will invite you on that. Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience. Thank you very much.
Hi Ravi.
Hello.
Hey Ravi, are you still online?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ravi, I have just sent one question.
Okay. Just a second. Let me check. Yeah, I. Okay. If the company is running as a representative office, yes, and not generating any income locally and doesn't have a local account. Okay. So as per the representative office or any branches, they might be considered as a headquartered business. But now it depends on the, as I mentioned, that it depends on the role actually. It's not only about the income, but it also is the key decision of the company are taken in the UAE, and if the senior management or the it is sitting inside the UAE or not. So these needs to be looked out actually, and then only we can identify if the headquarter business activity is considered or not in that.
I'll put in a small reply here. I'll just add a few things to what Ravi said. Hi, Varun. How are you? Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, I can hear you, Rohit. How are you?
Okay,
I'm good. Thank you.
great. So the representative office by design cannot invoice any clients, right? So while you will have to submit a notification saying that yes, we do not do XYZ. That notification has to be submitted, mandatory, whether you are subject to the economic substance test or not. But the economic substance test will not apply to you because you can't generate the income even if you want to.
Correct.
So you would need to submit a notification, but you do not
Okay.
need to pass the test.
No, I didn't get you that. Sorry.
Sorry,
Get you that.
you want me to repeat it?
One more.
Okay. So is it clear now? Varun, I think
Hello.
the line's a bit
I think
fuzzy.
its
So
sound is breaking.
no problem. I'll give you a call separately and I'll tell you about it.
Hello.
I'll give you a call separately and tell you about it.
Rohit, I think your sound is breaking.
Hi, Varun, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah. So no,
Okay,
Mr.
okay,
Rohit
that's
is
fine,
saying
Rohit.
that he
Yeah,
will
Rohit,
call
that's fine. That's
you.
fine.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Rohit.
Most
Thank
welcome. You're
you.
most welcome.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you
so
for
much. Take
your
care. Bye bye.
bye.